it is exactly meant to be a distraction, to be a show, and not really showing us the potential of where we could be.
Yeah, but the point is they did admit it. They said we had the capability to go to the moon. So it's not like they're trying to keep that capability a secret. They boasted. We have the capability to go to the moon. Kennedy, who's not a scientist, he's simply a visionary politician, he said after we went in space for 15 minutes from Florida to California, he said, hey, why don't we try to go to the moon, a completely another planet, by the end of the decade in only 8.5 years. Do you realize it took almost that long to build a 747 aircraft than going to another world? When it proved to be impossible, they faked it. If they could go to the moon, they would boast about it. And so they already said we could go. But the fact is they couldn't. The fact is that the missions were faked simply because they could not go. Now, I have no doubt that UFOs exist. The question is, where are they from? I believe they're from Earth. They are not from outer space. That's another lie they want us to believe. Proof of this is Ed Mitchell, who goes around claiming to be this somehow peace guru. In 1 second, which you can see in Astronauts Gone Wild, he says, I don't hit people. And then when my back is turned to him, he hits me from behind. He can't even go 5 seconds without lying. And so the man who says he walked on the moon when he did not also says UFOs are real. Well, what does that mean? It means they're not.
My point is that if you're saying UFOs are man-made, right, if they come from Earth, why the government hasn't admitted they exist, you see? So my point is that there's many things that are kept secret from the mainstream. And I'm saying you can't simply discount what the government is doing beyond what they admit to us.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, and that's a very good point. The question is, if an alien technology existed, even though on average, if there is life out there, it would be approximately 300 million light years away. If an alien civilization had the technology to travel 300 million light years, and everything in Star Trek is true, then they would have the ability to be completely invisible, meaning if UFOs are being seen, it's because they want to be seen. If they have the technology to travel halfway across the universe, then they have the technology to never be seen. So the fact that they are seen means they want to be seen. Well, what does that mean? Why is a man who claimed he walked on the moon when he didn't also claiming, oh, UFOs are very real? When if they wanted to be invisible, you would never know about them. It's some deception that they're planning where they want people to believe in aliens from outer space. They want people to believe in UFOs. I was in a hotel a couple of years ago, bored flipping through HBO. 3 of the 10 movies on HBO are about aliens from outer space. Now, if 3 of the 10 movies are about what a great president Obama is, or 3 of the 10 movies are about what a terrible president he is, then I would say someone's trying to manipulate the way that we think. And they're constantly planting this UFO, alien from outer space, in our minds for us to believe in it. They could have faked Roswell for that whole purpose of getting us to believe in UFOs. That piece of paper sticking out of the guy's pocket that was, you zoomed in on years later. How do we know they didn't plan all of that? We have no idea. These people are the most intricate, as you very well know, chess players and wicked people who can think so many more moves in advance than we are. They can lead conspiracy theorists by the nose and get them to think what they want them to think.
So basically your argument and contention is that it would have been impossible to launch this, essentially a tin can, and land it upon the surface of a moon, which is 3 days' journey away. It's a very volatile atmosphere and object in its own right as far as the landing conditions can go. And so basically that itself was probably an impossible condition to achieve. But what was the motivation for this fake landing? Was it to sort of triumph American exceptionalism in the world and to obviously feed the industry around NASA and whatnot? So explain what the motivation for the success of the moon landing would have been if it was fake.
Well, it's one of the oldest reasons in the book, pride. Kennedy, who was a visionary, not a scientist, put the goal to go to the moon by the end of the 1960s. Only a few days after the U.S. went in space with a man for the very first time, not even achieving a single orbit. They just went up for 15 minutes from Florida to California. Kennedy said, hey, let's put a man on the moon by the end of the decade. When that goal proved to be impossible, they just decided to bluff. Like in a game of poker, they would not eat humble pie and admit that we had bitten off more than we could chew. Plus, it was a great way for friends in the military-industrial complex to make money. It was a good distraction during the Vietnam War, give something, to feel good about for the average American citizen, to be prideful about. I mean, putting a man on the moon, if it were true, would be physically the single greatest accomplishment in mankind. Now that we know that it's not, it's probably the most gigantic, deplorable lie ever told by the country that claims to be a light on a hill, the rescuer of everybody, the promoter of democracy and truth and justice. It's terrible.
What do you make of the video from later Apollo missions flying over the moon, or any of the even unmanned pictures of the moon? Are any of these real, or do you think they've all been doctored or all fake?
I would say if I were them, I would make as much of it as real as possible. Before 1969, they sent unmanned probes to the moon. They sent unmanned probes to orbit the moon, and they show this huge model they have. It must be like at least 30 feet in diameter. And they pasted together all the satellite pictures from an unmanned lunar probe and pasted them around this circular moon that they have at NASA. You can see a picture of it. And they allegedly did this so that the astronauts could rehearse, the moon landing. Well, it's the very model that they used later to use rear projection to have their little fake model of the, lunar module coming up. And you being in the film business, you'll notice that when the lunar, orbit by itself, it's crystal clear. But when they then have the model, in front of the rear projection, you can tell it's like third generation faded. It's not crystal clear anymore.
But do you think most of the NASA photos that get released have been doctored or photoshopped?
Well, all the stuff on the moon obviously was shot in a TV studio.
In general, from the probes and whatnot, are we seeing actual footage? We've seen the actual footage of the dark side of the moon?
I would think so. I don't see any reason why they would have to lie about it. The term wicked, someone pointed out to my mind, comes from a candle. And if you look at a candle wick really closely, it's actually two threads woven together. And that's where the term wicked comes from. It comes from truth and lies being mingled together. They have, the fake moon pictures with some real moon pictures so that you'll buy it.
Beyond, obviously, you've talked about the notion of profiteering that went on with NASA and how they swelled this budget, obviously, with everything from the rockets themselves and the research that went into it, even to the rovers costing far too much money for what it should have cost in comparison. But do you think that you still don't believe that there's a possibility that some of that money went into what's called black projects or black programs, whereby when people allege, for example, that there's underground facilities, that there's much higher orders of technology that you yourself talked about, the UFOs being man-made, government-made perhaps, that we're then talking about a breakaway civilization or a potentially far more technologically advanced civilization that is operating behind the auspices of our government than what has been admitted? You don't think that that's possible?
Oh, it's definitely possible and probably is the way that it is. However, I think the greater concern isn't about how much their technology might be, 30 years ahead of the commercial industry, which, is impressive, but not all that impressive. What's more concerned is that there are two governments. There's the, the face government, and then there's the, 10 or 12 people who are above the president telling the president what to do, telling Congress and the Senate what to do. I mean, the Congress and the Senate, they weren't, inquired to about whether or not we should fake the moon missions. They knew nothing about it. So what we have here is our elected officials are not the people running the government. That's of greater concern.
Apollo 17 panorama, and you can see it right here. Now you can download either or. Now you got a sample which says 1024 pixels wide, and the other one here, the original JPEG, is at 534 kilobytes. I'm going, it's not very big at all. This is what you get on the first one, which is the sampler, and this one here is the actual larger widescreen type thing. Now, let me show you guys something. Remember I always told you that just because you have a low-res picture doesn't mean you can't find anomalies in it. Now, you can't take them too serious, meaning sometimes these things are so blurred or it's just so pixelated that you really can't make out what it really is, okay? But you don't need to. I'm going to show you why. Once you zoom into this particular photo, now you can see it. Now, look on the left here. You can see this rock, right? And you can see right here, It still looks like a rock, right? It's just more pixelated, a little more grainy. Okay. This is where it gets bizarre. Let's go to the middle of this particular photo. And now, when you look at this picture, it looks like there's nothing there. But have a look at this. I'm hoping people will start to train their eyes to this, because this is crazy. Look at this item right here. It has height to it. Okay? It's got height, and it's got width to it. Now, it is distorted. It is crap. But sometimes you find more imperfections this way, and you can actually see where they've actually doctored up or tried to obfuscate certain things, right? Now, this particular thing has something sticking out of it, and I'm going to show you that right now because there's another detail in it that's going to corroborate exactly what this may be, right? All right, so that one's the blurry one. We don't want to really look at that. Not really much to see. This one here, a lot better, right? Now, this particular area, I'm going to zoom right into it. This is what we want to see because this is cool. We drop down. Well, we want to go way over. I don't know why I'm still over there, but let's go way over here. Okay, so right here you can see there's something laying here. And you might say, I'm really not seeing it too much, but you will. This is pretty cool. Let me just back out just a little bit and then go back in because I actually had zoomed in and of course I clicked on the plus, which zooms in even more, right? But there's many more things in front of, and this is Mr. CERN, the astronaut, and he's the one that's taking a kind of like taking a walk around from the moon buggy. But these guys ain't looking at rocks, guys. I'm going to show you this right now. You can see something's right there. How do I know that? Well, train your eyes. Like I said, look at these little white specks right here, 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 all the way over to here, and you're going to say, what the heck? I'm not seeing anything. You will. Watch this. Let's jump in because I want to show you both of these real quick. Here's that one I told you is kind of like, it's kind of really, kind of crappy, right? But look, all of a sudden you can see something right here, like I said earlier. Okay? Now it is a piece of garbage photo, but that's okay. We're not going to use this photo to do the enhancement. All I'm trying to say is you can see how there's just like, it's one thing to see, you know, pixelations and compression marks. I don't care about those. What I care about is the idea, because even though this whole area is pixelated, look at the area inside this circled area. It has something raised up in there, but gets even better. Because even on this side, there's other things. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but faintly, right here, look at this. Square. Now, I don't know whether these are objects that have been ghosted out. There's another one right here. I don't know if you can see that, but if you're on your smaller phones and tablets, sometimes the definition on things are really good and you can see these things. Another line. Going across. Going like this. There's something else going. It looks like there's two lines here. I'm trying to, well, I mean, not that way, but anyway, it goes like this, over, and then another one like this. This line right here is a false line. Right here. This is false. This crater wall, that's false. That's garbage. Okay, so now I did the enhancement on this just to show you a little bit more. Check this stuff out, guys. There's something laying right here. Now, there's something that, like I said, that does stick out, and I'm going to show you that because it's cool. As far as I'm concerned. Now, let's get into the much better quality photo so we can see this and not look at blurred garbage. Okay. Now, there's something, I don't know if you guys can see this. Train your eyes. Don't look at the colors or just the actual, the texture. You want to look at lines. You want to look at, I mean, textures is one thing, but you can see the difference in manipulation and how they try to take certain things out. But there's something laying right here. I mean, to be honest with you, all of this is something. Even these hills back here, no way. These are not just simple hills or lunar buttes or call them what you will. But right here, now there's something I believe, to be honest with you, if you go back a little bit, right here, the whole thing is something right here. So let's get into that. Whoa, suddenly I'm looking at this thing and I'm going, what the hell? You can see where they went over this thing. See with all this dot crap right here? All this right here? They tried to just scribble it out. But when you use a dodge tool, it's going to find any light, you know, signature in a photo and try to drag it through it. Or at least make it whiter than it is, right? So I'm looking at this thing and I'm going, oh my God, check this out. What are you kidding me? And check this out. This whole thing sitting right here. Whatever this thing is, I don't know what this is here. But there's something laying right there. It looks like some kind of weird kind of missile-shaped type thing. But look in the back here. Looks like some weird kind of, almost like a front of a craft or something like that. It looks like it's got rectangular openings. don't know if you can see that. But it has what looks like a pipe thing sticking out right here. And something that hasn't been blocked out. Looks pretty smooth right there. I don't think these, guys, I think these are structures. Crafts, structures, whatever it may be. Either way, it's not natural, no matter what it is. So now let's get into this a little deeper. So then I just really went to town on this thing to try to get out the rest of the crap that's all over this thing. And check that out. You can see what looks like it has a leg or connection to something else on there. Now let's go back because I want you guys to see this. It is in the photo. Right there. Okay, this is also what I want you guys to see. Right here, this so-called mountain. Remember I was showing you this piece, there's other bigger piece here. But, I'm not so sure what that is, but check this out. Where are these lines coming from? And this so-called mountain. And there's other things here too, see this? Almost looks like squares or rectangular openings. I'm not sure what the make of that is, but they are there. Check this out. Whoop. Let me do it this way, I'm sorry. I'm just going to go back and forth a little bit. You can see them right here. I can see them right there without doing anything to this. Look at this. Another bigger one here. Whoop. Actually should have been further over. But anyway, you guys will get the idea in a second. But just going back and forth, you can see them. They're very light, but they are there nonetheless. Okay? And, again, what is the deal with this? Yeah, don't look like a mountainside to me. But anyway, let's move on. And like I said, I brought this out and I said, whoa, hold on a minute. Check this out. What is that, guys? Whatever this thing is, it's part of this whole thing. Not sure what to make of it. But look where Mr. CERN is. Our astronaut, look at the size of whatever this thing is. Keep in mind, he's got to walk all the way down here to this thing. So this thing's pretty good size, right? And again, we've got these other objects. Now check this out. This is like a perfect example of how they're BSing the people. Check this out. Look at this so-called part of this mountain, but you can see right here, it's all kind of jagged. They made it, they just painted over this thing. There's actually a smooth structure right here. Watch this. See it? There's something sitting right here, and it has this, what looks like a black circle, whiter inside circle, and it has some kind of other features right here. You can see it looks kind of oval, and of course it fades off underneath this garbage. Either way, that is not real, man. That's not a real mountain. They put something over it to hide and disguise this thing. But if you look at these items here, there's 1, 2, 3. There's something sitting right here, and I think it's part of something much bigger because there's something right here. You can see that. It's got all these weird pieces right here, pods right there. Okay. And it's got this one here that's actually the main anomaly itself in the photo. Now, I said I had like a little small feature that may corroborate what I'm trying to show in this. Now, you can actually see this item right here. Like I said, I'm just going to outline it. It goes like this, has this what looks like a support or some kind of leg, and goes like that there. Of course, this thing keeps going further on, but there's so much of this garbage it's hard to pull out. Okay? So, now how about this? It has a shadow. Look at this. And of course, you got the item right here. What? Check that out. It's got its own shadow. I'm going to enhance the shadow right here, and you can see what I'm talking about. See it? It actually has a shadow. Now, you say, well, how do you know it's a shadow? Well, let's look at these supposed rocks, which has a perfect black circle on it, but let's call it a rock anyway. This rock goes down like this. You can see where it goes down, and it has this thing here. Almost looks like it goes into a triangular shape right there. Now, the sun's coming down this way, and guess what? Look at the shadow. Let's say this thing goes like this. Look at the shadow that it's casting. Okay? There's another rock over here to the left of it. And you can see where it goes down like this. And you can see it's a much smaller rock, a supposed rock, but yet it's got a shadow. Again, shadows are going this way. Now look at the size of the shadows. Look at the like it's at the 3, 4 o'clock position on a clock. And look at this. Look at the way this thing, it stops here, and it's casting its shadow here. Same exact kind of angle these are. This is what's telling me this thing is actually in there. It's actually in the photo, and this, I don't know what it is. To me, it looks like some kind of structure. Could be anything. I think this guy, this astronaut's looking at all kinds of stuff in this video. Well, we're looking at this kind of stuff in the video. But I think this astronaut's looking at so much more than just clearly rocks. This is not rocks at all. And this is absolute proof, as far as I'm concerned, that they're looking at something much more intelligently made than simple natural rocks, right? Of course, you guys can tell me what you think is going on. I see what looks like structures, crafts, or anything else that's over here. I think, like I said, guys, in the last video, I believe that, you know, these may have been here for thousands of years. How do we know? We just basically learned how to crawl. Now we're starting to walk as far as our technology. So these things could have been there for thousands of years. We would have been none the wiser. But one guy happened to look through a telescope one day and said, oh my God, what is that stuff on the surface of the lunar surface? What is going on over there? Get up there now. Let's go check it out. Out.